final part of our series, Post-Pandemic Church, the church in our post-pandemic future. And many of us, I am sure you are tired and wish this was over. There's so much going on, and it seems like it'll never be over. And honestly, it's going to be a while before things if they ever get back to what we call normal. I don't think we'll ever be there. It'll be a long, long time. But today we're going to talk about the post-pandemic Christmas words. And it's because it's the Christmas season. And I want to just talk about our words. Last week we talked about loving one another and treating how we actually treat each other, how God wants us to love each other. And he wants the world, everybody else in the entire world, he wants them to be able to look at us and be able to tell that we are his disciples because of the love that we have for each other. Now, what I have seen recently is a lot different than what we've been exposed to in the media, what we've seen, even in our communities. Everything that we have seen seems to be so different from what God actually planned, what Jesus actually planned for us. But I'm excited today, even in the middle of this pandemic, and whether we're on the going down the downside of the hill, I don't know, because with this last variant that we're talking about with Omicron, it seems like that's going to be a very contagious, even if it's not as severe, but it's very contagious. But this is the time when, even as we listen to the news and as we take it in, this is a time when I think we should be still excited about Jesus, what God has done for us. And I'm not talking about sticking your head in the sand and acting like nothing's happening. I'm saying be encouraged about what God has promised and what he's doing. At the same time, be safe for wherever you are. And so I do want to remind you, I'll bring up a couple of things. This is a few days ago, December 15th. This is Genesee County. For those of you who are watching us outside of Genesee County, you should look up this data for yourself for wherever you are, whatever county you're in. And this is letting us know our 7-day average is 358 people on average are actually testing positive for COVID. And along with that, within the last week, we've learned that there are 2 people in Genesee County already who've contracted the Omicron virus. And they even explained, it was a doctor, she even explained how it happened. And she was already vaccinated, she and her daughter. So they're not in the hospital. That's a good thing, and that's probably because of their vaccination. But at the same time, there are some breakthroughs, even if you're vaccinated. So you need to be careful. You need to still wear your mask. And so I know Christmas is coming up, and some of us, we're going to be celebrating. We're going to be doing some things. I just want to show you the data, and I hope you'll make some good decisions as to what you want to do and what you will do. This, again, is from October this year up to December. You can see how the trend is going up. If you just look at those hills, each hill seems to get a little higher, a little higher, a little higher. But right around the beginning of December was our peak so far, and it seems to be coming down. And that's a good thing, but at the same time, we know we're getting ready to celebrate Christmas. A lot of people are getting ready to party, getting ready to get together, and we'll see if that goes back up after that. But we hope people will be responsible, wear their mask. One of the things that this doctor said, that she went away to a wedding in Wisconsin, and she said during the wedding, everybody wore their mask, everything was good, they social distanced, everything was great, but the reception was a different animal. And when they went to the reception, everybody came in with their mask on, but as they began to eat, they pulled their mask off, and then they began to dance, and they began, to have fun and celebrate with their mask off. And so she knows that that's where she contracted the virus. So if you are gathering, whatever you're doing, just be careful. Make sure you're social distance. Don't forget. It's easy to forget. We are social creatures. We are designed. When you get in an atmosphere where you start celebrating, it's it's not normal to have on a mask, and it's not normal to not celebrate with each other. You want to experience that. But I'm saying be careful so that we don't end up in the hospital, or even if you don't end up in the hospital, you don't want to ever have the people that I've talked to who've had this and that have recovered. There's still something lagging on the inside of them that seems to keep them down. They can't breathe properly. One person I know, he's carrying an inhaler now. Didn't have to carry one before. But this disease is nothing to play with, even if it doesn't kill you. It could change your life for the rest of your life. And so here's some things. If you are vaccinated, it's saying that even indoor activities could still be risky if you're vaccinated. And so if the events with more than 50 people, especially if some of the people may not be vaccinated, it's better to socialize inside the home with only one or two other vaccinated households. That kind of thing is. But if you are not vaccinated, then it's saying that indoor activities are extremely dangerous for you. So avoid indoor dining, bars, gyms, those kinds of things, as well as having friends over to your home and indoor personal care like haircuts, all that kind of stuff. But you can make your own decisions on that. This is from the CDC, just their guidelines and recommendations. Whenever possible, you should choose delivery, curbside, and that kind of stuff. But whatever you do, be safe. That's all we're saying is whatever you decide to do, be safe, but at the same time, be excited about what God is doing in us and what we can still do. And we have to find ways to actually still celebrate with one another without risking our lives and risking our health to be able to do that. So I have a question for you as we get into this today. And that's this. Have you noticed that lately it seems like everybody is, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people are angrier than usual, where people are just mad? I mean, even, I don't know why. It's just like, why are people so angry? When you see the news, you see the people who are on flights, even, that's up. You're hearing the news where where people are fighting and not just fighting each other, fighting the attendants on the it's crazy. These people are here to protect you, and you lost your mind. You 30,000 feet in the air, and you're going to mess with somebody who's trying to keep you safe? That's crazy. But those are the kinds of things that's happening, and not just that, in our own communities where you see, school board meetings. I mean, you've seen it on the news and in the media. That's why you see it. But school board meetings, I've seen where parents are harassing kids who come into school. Not their kids, other kids. You got parents with their kids who are harassing kids who come into school because they're wearing a mask or not wearing a mask, whichever side they're on. It's just that they're just crazy, just lost their cotton-picking minds because of what's going on in the world that causes us to, move back from each other and caring about each other, and just whatever serves our purpose, we become so personal and so guarded and so distrustful of anybody and the government and everything else. But why is all these things going on? I'm asking you now, what do you think is contributing to some of this? People are more stressed out. They're more worried. They're more angry. They're more disrespectful of each other. When I grew up, we respected our elders. And if I didn't, I was in trouble. But, just no respect for anybody. Compared to even just several years ago, it seems like it's all different. Now, I'm not just talking about what I saw in the news. I did a little research, and I want to share some things with you. The Gallup poll, you've heard of the Gallup industry, but they started this 15 years ago. But last year, these are the numbers I'm going to share with you. They did a global emotions report for 2021, and the data is from 2020, a global emotions report. And so they're saying, based on their data, they said the world was a sadder place to be, an angrier place to be. And they're not just talking about the United States. This is the whole world. Angrier place, more worry, more stressed out place than it has been at any time in the past 15 years. And the reason they only could say 15 years is because that's how long they've been doing this annual poll every year. So in the 15 years that they've been doing this, 2020 was the worst year ever. And so here's some of the numbers. 40% people are more worried and 40% more stressed. 29% people experience more pain, and 27% experience more sadness. And of course, a lot of the sadness was contributed by the coronavirus and people dying, and we couldn't, I mean, it was terrible. Someone died, then you can't even go to the funeral. It was just that isolation and separation and all of that. Those things, contributed to this, but a lot of this started to happen before then. The poll concluded this, that 2020 officially 2020 became the most stressful year in recent history. So, what do you think? And I'm watching my chat window here. If you have some thoughts on this, you can chat back to me and I'll respond. But what do you think contribute to people being more stressed out, more worried, more angry, more disrespectful? It's bigger than just the coronavirus. It's really bigger than that. What do you think made the difference? What do you think contributes to that? One of the things that I learned and that I have experienced in just the research that I'm doing as I prepare for this is that a lot of what we see is people's response to pain. It's a natural response to a very unnatural circumstance. What we've gone through, nobody in our lifetime has gone through it before. What we've gone through in the last couple of years. I mean, you've been for a while when we were doing the shutdown. We were shut up in the house with people that we used to get away and go to work. Now you're shut up together, and then so you're in close quarters with some people, and you're quarantined from other people that you wish you could see, and because everybody in your family don't live with you, all of your friends don't live with you, and so now you're experiencing all of this separation. But it's a very it's a very powerful thing for us to happen to us as humans. But at the same time, I want to remind you, remember last week when we said what Jesus did, because everybody's experiencing this pain. But what Jesus did last week, remember we said Jesus listened to people, and he listened to what they said their needs were, even if he knew that they needed him, that they needed God, he still listened to them. So even in the middle of all of this pain that everybody's going through, we have to learn to listen. We have to learn to open our hearts to hear so that we can be basically a conduit of who Jesus is to people who actually need him. So because what we're seeing is their natural response to all this. We've been isolated from each other, and while being quarantined with, isolated from some, quarantined with others, and just too much of one and not enough of the other, and it just makes life very, very difficult. But it's not just our relationships. There are people who lost jobs, lost family members, lost friends. All of these things, contribute to all of these things, all the different ways people are responding and reacting to this. And one of the things that I notice is that I believe this has created another pandemic. It's rage. People even on the road, people are just going crazy. On the road, I saw someone driving down the road, open up their window. Well, first, they wanted to get by. So the car was in the passing lane. That person didn't get over soon enough. I was praying they'd just get over, but they didn't get over. And this person's in a hurry, just ready to go. And they're just racing and right up on this person's bumper, and the person's not moving over yet. I don't know if the person didn't see him or if once they saw him, seems like they may have said, well, once I saw him, I'm going to just stay right here until you calm down. Because some of us, we feel like we got to show people, that they're not the boss or whatever. But anyway, when this person finally moved over, this person that was in a hurry, um, let me just give you some example. The person that was in a hurry, trying to get by, once he got by, he got over in front of this person. Instead of going on where he was going, he got over in front of this person and slowed down. And then, now this person's slowing down, so I'm behind all these clowns, and they're just acting a fool, a big fool. And they're going, and then this person that's now behind the other person finally gets around him, and he's just racing. I don't know if he's afraid or what, because now the person that had somewhere to go, where he was trying to go, now he's chasing the other person. He's actually chasing the other car. Wherever the other car goes, he's chasing that car. He's forgotten about wherever he was going. His mind is now on whoever ticked him off. It's just crazy. And the only way the person got away from him is there was a left exit and a right exit. And this person, if you're familiar with, if you're on 23 and familiar when you get to 96, there's a left exit and a right exit. And this person got in the left lane just speeding like crazy. And they noticed this person was still chasing them. They got in that same left lane. Then they cut over in front of me and everybody else and went all the way across the expressway and jumped on the right lane. That's the only way they actually got away from this clown. There are some crazy people. And these things are, these are natural responses to very unnatural circumstances. And it's time for us to be at our best. And the world needs us at our best, not just on the highway, but our community, political community, our church, our school, the digital people online, everywhere. They need us at our best. And that's what we talked about to you last week, about being our best. There are personal attacks happen. People who just, I call them defamation campaigns, where their goal is just to make you just, whatever negative things they can find out about you, they post it online, they talk about it. It's just the worst. There's a very polarized situation that we're in. We sow in seeds of distrust everywhere we go. It seems like even in other systems, not just the political system. But one of the things that can make a difference, and I'm making this point for this reason. One of the things that can make a difference for you and for me, especially for us who are in the body of Christ, who are supposed to love one another anyway, is the way we handle words. That's why today's title is Christmas Words. And I'm not just talking about joy to the world and Santa and those kind of words. I'm talking about the words that we choose during this season. We need to make sure that they're seasoned words. Here's something I've learned about words. If your heart is empty of love, your words are going to be empty of love. And whatever words, your words is what moves whatever's in your heart to those who are around you. If your heart is empty of love, guess what else moves in? Fear moves in. Distrust moves in. Hatred moves in. Words carry these emotions, and whatever emotions we have, words carry these emotions from one heart to another heart. Whatever is in my heart, when I speak words, I'm carrying that into your heart. As long as your heart is open to that, and that's what's happening a lot of times is whatever's in my heart, and I start spewing that stuff out, and then people start receiving it. In the example I gave you last week where the man shot up all the people in the Jewish synagogue just from stuff that he'd heard that stirred him up. And those are some of the things that happen that causes us, with us Christians and us Jesus followers, if we could do more of what we're supposed to be doing. And some of the people on the front lines of this distrust and front lines of this crazy stuff are people who say they love Jesus. I don't know what Jesus they love, but it's not the one that we serve, I am pretty sure. Or they need some help. And so words are containers. This is something I learned from Pastor Timothy R. Stokes. He said, words are containers. Words contain what's in your heart, what you put in them. So if it's fear, if it's distrust, if it's hatred, the word that you share contain those. And if that's what you're putting out, that means that you're not sharing the love that is in your heart if there's some love there. So again, I want to share the scripture with you, and I want to just share what Jesus wants us to do about this. And as he spoke about this, but Solomon said something very powerful through an inspiration, and also Paul, and I want to share that, and that's what I want to use today to kind of wrap this up. But to bring us into focus with this, remember last week we shared what Jesus said. He said, "A new command I give you, love one another as I've loved you, so you must love one another." It's a must. It's a command. You must love one another. That's John, the 13th chapter and the 34th verse. And we're reading that in the NIV. He's saying you must love one another. Now, that love needs to be expressed through words and through deeds. But many of us, we are saying things with our mouth that doesn't reflect the love that we say we have in our hearts. And we need to reflect the love that we have in our hearts and not other things. Here's something that Solomon said, and many of you, if you grew up in church, especially in the last 20, 30 years, you've heard this scripture many times. The NIV says the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. I grew up with the King James Version that actually said, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof, in the King James Version. But I want to share a verse that is not usually brought in with this. Is the verse just before that. It says, "From the fruit of their mouth, a person's stomach is filled. With the harvest of their lips, they are satisfied." So what Solomon is saying here is that we are satisfied. You satisfy yourself. We become satisfied with what we say. When you become satisfied with the words that you say, it brings satisfaction to you. The same as what you do with your hands that brings food and you eat and your stomach is filled. The words that you say will actually have a harvest the same way your hands do when you work. So we become satisfied with that. And what he's saying in the next verse is you need to be careful because your tongue that's bringing you that harvest, the tongue has the power of life and it has the power of death. It has both. So you need to decide. You need to be cautious about what you say and what's coming out of your mouth. So from this, I found this quote by Madras Tehillim. It says, "Malicious talk is like an arrow. A person who unsheathes a sword can regret his intention and put it back." So in other words, you can think about killing somebody and you pull your sword and you could think, I'm not going to do this, and put your sword back. But words are like an arrow. And you pull that bow back. Once you release it, it's gone. And that's the same way it is with words. Words cannot be taken back. Once words are released and spoken, they cannot be unsaid. It's like you can't unsay that. So we need to be careful with our words. So here's what I think we need to do. We need to pause. First of all, you need to pause before allowing a thought to become a word, because words are spoken from thoughts that we have. Before allowing a thought to become a word, ask yourself, what is the goal here of me saying this? And many times, from what we've been hearing in the media, their goal is just to hurt that other person. That's all they're trying to do. And those are the words that's coming out. And when you have that goal, your brain will bring you some new words that you can find words that can hurt people. And so we need to pause and just allow, let the thoughts that are in our hearts, let those thoughts become words only if it builds up the person and the person to whom they are spoken to. Only allow those words to come out if it would actually be helpful to the person that you're speaking them to. Now, I like the way Paul said it in Ephesians when he was talking to the people of Ephesus. That was a community when he first started the church at Ephesus. There were all kind of people at Ephesus from different communities, different ethnicities, and they were all this was like almost like a hub in that area at the time. But he had to give them some things that would actually help them once they became Christians. And this is one of the things that he said to them, and he's saying that to us today. He said, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. Now that's a mouthful. That's a lot. So let's unpack this a little bit at a time. First of all, he said, don't let any unwholesome words come out of your mouth. That's worthless words. Words that are not worth anything. Words that are, without grace. Words that are putrid, that are decaying. Words that are dead. Don't let those words come out. You may have the thought, because you notice what he said, do not let any unwholesome talk come out. So it could be in there. He said, don't let it come out. But only what is helpful for building others up. Only let that come out. So all this dead stuff, leave it in there. But only what is helpful for building others up. Only those things are the things that you want to allow to come out. He said, in the last part of that, he said, and this is what is so key. I don't know if I've ever paid attention to this before. He said, according to their needs. Again, he's like Jesus. He's listening to the people and he's speaking to them according to their needs. Not necessarily what I think you need, but according to your need. Not necessarily to what I want to say that makes me feel better. Many times we'll say what makes us feel better instead of what is actually making the other person actually become better. In other words, we don't want to just, say things that make us feel better. We should actually say things that make the person a better person instead of just making me feel better about what I'm saying. Because again, if we look at what I was saying before, a heart full of love will compose thoughts of love. Then you can customize those words of love, and then you can uniquely, specifically speak those words to that person according to that person's needs. So it's not something that you've already, thought up, but it's something that is based on what that person needs. That's what we need to learn how to do. That's what we need to begin to put into our vocabularies and into our minds and our thoughts, allowing the love of God to flow through us. Because there's three kinds of words. There are dead words, living words, and absent words. Dead words, that's what you've been hearing on the news and everywhere else in the media. And, dead words come from dead thoughts and that are spoken. Living words come from living thoughts or life-giving thoughts that are spoken. But what are absent words? Well, absent words, there's two kinds of absent words. And absent words, they come from two different places. Again, there are two forms. They come from, first of all, dead thoughts that are unsaid. And that's one of the things Paul is saying. If you got some dead thoughts, don't say them. Okay? Let those be absent words. Then there are living words that are life-giving words, life-giving thoughts that are also unsaid. Now, what we have to learn to do is say the life-giving words, the thoughts that you have. I am so guilty of this. Many times I'll have a thought of something I need to say to somebody that I'm sure would benefit them or that I think would benefit them again, and then I'll just let the moment pass and it's gone. And you never have that chance, to speak those words of life to that person again. What Paul is saying here to us is we need to learn to allow our words, the good thoughts, start practice saying them, get them out. The world needs it. Your community needs it. These crazy people that's running around, doing different stuff, they need those kinds of words that comes from you. And so as I close, and before I give you your challenge today and for the rest of this Christmas season, I did some research on words. And many of you probably, I don't know if you've heard of Dr. John Gottman. He and his wife, they do some things with marriages now together. His wife is Julie. But back in the 70s, he and a partner, Robert Levinson, they did some research that they got to the point where they could predict a marriage, basically when a marriage was going to end, whether it was going to live or whether it was going to die, based on words. And here's what it's a long story. If you want to read it, I gave you. There's the research link right there at his website, and you can get to the actual research that they did. But what they did is what they found. And I want to just get to the point of what they found. They found that there's a ratio of the marriages that survived, even though if there was a negative word that was said, there were 5 positive words to that one negative word in ratio that actually made that marriage work. So even though they're talking about marriages, this works for any relationship. Since he's done this research back in the 70s and they've improved on it, there are other organizations that have done this with children, as far as child psychology. A child, even if you're going to train a child to do something and they're not always doing what's right, even if you tell them, what the negative thing is, you need 5 more good things to say to that one bad thing, or that one bad thing will just cloud their mind, and that's all they'll think about. So you need 5 good things to encourage them and whatever they've done. And many of us, based on our motivation gifting, all we see is what they did wrong. And then that's all we say is what they did wrong. They may have done 10 things that were right, but all we see is the one thing that they did wrong, and that's all we say. That's unhealthy. And in a marriage, when you do that, it'll end up in divorce or separation and whatever. And that's what they've learned in this study. But businesses now, consulting companies that are consulting with businesses, they do the same thing. They've learned the same thing, that if you got a team of workers and you're going to lead this team, whether you're the CEO, whether you're just a team leader or whatever, you need to give people positive feedback, not just tell them what they did wrong. You need to give them, and the ratio that makes it work is 5 to 1. Now, I don't know what your ratio is, but for every 5 living words, if we look at this the way we're talking about, that Solomon said, in your tongue is the power of life and the power of death. 5 living words to every 1 word that does not produce life. That's what we want to focus on. So here's your challenge. It may be a game, whatever you want to do this Christmas. You have a lot of opportunity to say some words, and you can pick them. But hopefully you'll come up with some good ones. Your challenge is to check your vocabulary and remove thoughts. That's the first key. Remove thoughts and words that don't add value to yourself or others. If it doesn't add value, remove the thought. If it doesn't add value, remove the word. And what you want to do is add thoughts that generate life to anyone in your orbit, whoever's in whatever you do, whether it's your children, whether it's a group of people that you work with, whoever's in your orbit, by speaking more living words than words that add no life or words that suck the life out of you and suck the life out of others. So here's some action steps that'll get you through this time, that what we want to do this Christmas. Check your quota. Aim for 5 life-giving words for every 1 word that does not add life. If you find yourself where you pointed out something that someone did that was wrong, and you think, and you told them about it, well, now find something, 5 things that can actually build that person up. It's not that they didn't need you to tell them what they did wrong, but what they need as a human being is 5 positive things that they did right, or that they could do right, or that you notice. So look, you can find them. Find some things that will make a difference, and that's what will actually build that person up so that they can do better. So here's the action step. Target at least 1 person in your family. Target at least 1 person in your family that could use 5 life-giving words, and then practice. Here's what you want to practice. Practice life-giving thoughts for them and pray those thoughts for them. Remember last week we talked about praying for one another. Pray those thoughts for them. Pray and ask God, if whatever they need that's positive that they need in their life, pray and ask God to reveal it to them, to you, and so that you can say the right words to them. But pray life-giving thoughts for them and then speak life-giving words to them. So begin to pray life-giving thoughts for them and then speak life-giving words to them. In your family, do that. Also, target at least one person in your work life or your school life or whatever else you do. Target one person that's outside of your family that you deal with on a daily basis during the week that could use 5 life-giving words and then practice. Again, same thing. Practice praying for them, some life-giving thoughts. Practice praying life-giving ideas for them, and then speak life-giving words to them, just like you do for the family member. Another category is some with your friends. Target at least one of your friends that could use 5 life-giving words and practice. First of all, praying, giving thoughts for them, and then speaking life-giving words to them. And this last category, this might be difficult for some of us, but target at least one person on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, whatever you do, Snapchat, whatever you do, target at least one person on social media that could use 5 life-giving words and practice. First of all, practice praying for that person, praying some life-giving thoughts for them, and then speaking and posting life-giving words to them instead of letting them see if it's on social media, it's absent if you never post it. But if it's life-giving words, post some life-giving words to those people that need that on social media. And if we can do that, I mean, I think it may be fun, but I think if we could actually do that, it's bigger than just fun. It's actually us obeying what God said to do, what Jesus said when he said, this command I give you, love one another. And if we can use our words to begin to spread that kind of love, hold back the words that actually kill people and, words that destroy people, hold those back and allow the words to flow that would actually build a person up. That is the key for this season. So imagine this, like we said last week, imagine your church being a place in the community, local and online, both here in person and online, where anyone can submit a prayer request and know that they're not going to hear anything bad about it. All you praying is for God to do what that person needs. Like Paul said in Ephesians, when you speak words of life, say only what that person needs that would actually benefit them. Don't start saying things that you don't know anything about. Just start praying to God for God to be able to minister to that person, even if he wants to use you or if he wants to use someone else. And then imagine those people knowing that you are part of that group who will spend some time in prayer and spend some of your energy calling on God to make a positive difference in their world. It's so important that we get this. Love one another as Jesus has loved us. As Jesus has loved you, he wants us to love each other. So I want to pray for you and for the rest of this year as we begin to put this in practice. We've also made this available to you. If you're on our website, there's one of the links is the weekly challenge, and you can pull that up and download it right now. If not, it'll be on our Facebook page later today where you can download that and actually print it out and have it so that you can use it. But the same things that I'm sharing with you here, prepared that for you so that you can have that. The easiest way to do it is if you have our app, you can just go to the challenge and you can download it or you can just print it. But let me pray for you, then I'll come back and talk to you about if you want to give and support the ministry, and also if you'd like to take a step in your life with Jesus Christ today. But let me pray concerning the things that we just spoke about first and give you an opportunity to just receive what God wants to do with you in this season. Father, we thank you for this message. We thank you for this series. We thank you, even though we're still in a pandemic, this message on post-pandemic church and the differences that we'll need to make and that we'll have to do. it's our desire, based on today's message, to speak life into each other. It's our desire to speak words of life that will make a difference in a person's life, even to the degree where we would be silent. When we have a life-giving thought, I pray that we'll have the courage to speak those thoughts. And those of us who have words that are not producing life, God, help us to move those words out of our thoughts and to move thoughts of life into our prayers for that person and release those thoughts to you in prayer and also release those life-giving words to those people. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Well, God bless you.